Marie. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator, and I'm here with some amazing ladies. And Jennifer Toon is the Project Director, and we're just going to kind of talk to you a little bit about what Lioness does, who we are, and what we're going to be talking about tonight. So, Toon, you want to take that?
Yeah, so those of you who are tuning in, can't wait for us to dive into this one tonight. We like to keep y'all updated about what we're doing, what's going on. So Lioness is here. We are current and formerly incarcerated women. We were founded, we're led by current and formerly incarcerated women with the mission to end all incarceration and devaluing of women and girls in our Texas criminal legal system. So it's what brings us here tonight, right? And we've got some guests here. We've got Michelle down here. There she is.
Hi.
We've got Mandy.
Hey.
And we got April, and I will let them introduce themselves a little bit more after when we dive into our discussion. And so you can know a little bit about their history. But Marcy, tell us. We're talking about the lockdown again. Explain to people, what is the lockdown and what is its purpose?
Well, it's still a hot topic, right? And so before we dive into that, can we just quickly, like fast, say the number of years experience you have in TDCJ so the people watching can kind of have an idea where our voice is coming from? So I have almost 11 years inside. April?
I had 19 months.
Tunch?
I had 20 years.
Mandy?
I have 7 years.
Deja?
27 years.
27, 47, 54, 56. I mean, it's like 65 plus years right here on the screen. So that's kind of what we're coming from. So when we're talking about lockdowns in prison, we know what we're talking about, right? We have been through 2 a year.
Yes.
So 130 plus lockdowns that we've gone through right here on this screen. And so what is a lockdown? A typical lockdown is something that the Texas Department of Criminal Justice does for security measures. And it's basically they stop the movement of incarcerated people and do a thorough search of the unit, including the incarcerated folks' property. And ideally, they're looking for security risk type contraband. Now that we know kind of happens on the men's units a lot more than the women's units.
Yeah.
What we experienced was them finding, letters to one another or free world makeup or shower heads made out of old toothpaste containers. That's the contraband that they're digging up in the women's facilities.
Yeah. So Marcy, thank you for providing our audience with an idea of what a purpose. And we discussed in other videos on our podcast of the different types of lockdowns, right? And so for those of us on this call and many of our folks watching, not a pleasant experience. Horrible. One of the things that we dreaded, we counted our years by those lockdowns. I've got 5 more to go. I've got 2 more to go. Like horrible, horrible experience, right? So it's interesting then. And Marcy, I want you to tell folks how different that's being portrayed by the state agency, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, on their social media platforms. So what is that looking like from that lens right now?
Well, we were pretty shocked that the Texas Department of Criminal Justice put out a video today. And it was really surprising to me. It showed security measures. I don't know. Tunch, I feel like we should just play it.
Let's see it. Let's watch it. And then we're going to have some good discussion among us about what we're watching.
And if the music gets too annoying, because the music honestly is terrible, we can just mute it and we can kind of talk with it, but we'll just see how it goes.
Okay. Here we go.
now.
We're already getting the comments like, that is not how they search.
No, at all.
Yeah. So, wow, boy, you were right, Marcy, to warn us of the music. Production was just in its own, it's its own thing. But so, just reflecting on what we watched, I would love to know what each of you were thinking as you were watching that. And I'll start with Deja. What were you thinking when you were watching that?
It made me think of, like, remember whenever ACA would come, they would make us start cleaning up the roofs, go to J2, scrub the what's that called on the ground? They would just make us clean everything before they came. So when they came, they could see that it was, but before that, it would look like crap all the time, every day. Like nothing would be in compliance. It would just look horrible. But just for them few weeks, it would look right, just for the ACA people. Like that's what it makes me think of.
Yeah. And for people that are watching or listening, the ACA is the accredited thing that would come in to make sure the prisons were accredited.
Running right. Yeah. Right. Clean.
So very, very much for show. April, what were you thinking?
That was not my experience. It looked awfully clean to me. That kitchen area, I didn't see roaches or rats, which in my experience, we had things crawling around. And what concerns me about it is just that people's parents and loved ones see these things and think they're okay. They're getting showers. They're getting nutritious meals. TDC told us they're getting nutritious meals. And that's, in my experience, that was not the case. We were starving. I lost probably 40 pounds while I was in prison for that short of time, for over less than 2 years. So, yeah, not accurate.
To piggyback off of April with the food, I wish they would have pulled out that sandwich that said no peanut and fish, because it would have just been maybe 2 pieces of bread and cheese.
Right. Yeah,
that's what it is a cheese sandwich.
Yeah,
it isn't even a fulfilling meal. It's like I feel like it was kind of like a slap in the face watching it. The idea that it would be done in such a proper manner. I have never seen those scanners for the mattresses.
Yeah.
I've never seen that in my life. I've never seen the little spute where they nicely were able to give them water.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. We had to try to put our cups through that little slot, then cover our cups with our hands and try not to spill the water as it would come back through the slot.
Yeah.
Like I never seen that in my life, and so to me, it's almost like a joke. Like only because I know the truth, it's just, it's laughable that they would even try to sell that as the truth. But that's just my opinion.
Well, Marcy, what were you thinking today when you saw this posted?
Well, it made me angry. It made me instantly mad that the agency is putting out media trying to portray quite opposite of what is going down in there. And so like just to break it down with the searches, it was all of it as a whole. But what they did in this video that we for sure noticed is they addressed every single thing that has been negatively coming their way via social media during this lockdown. They addressed the officers bringing in contraband. They addressed diabetics and people with allergies not getting fed. They addressed the quality and quantity of food. I mean, they went as far to open up the cup and show a cup full of fruit. They addressed the water issue, and they addressed people getting respite. The only thing they didn't address was showers. So it's like they had a list that said, oh, people are complaining about this, but what we do know is our social media platforms and our Lioness members that are currently incarcerated, sending us mail every day, are telling us the opposite of what this video portrays. And so it made me angry.
Yeah, for sure, right? Like it's not like you said earlier. Our credibility comes from the way we did our time and how much time we did, right? So when people question us, oh, well, you can't be honest because you're all ex-cons, right? Well, my credibility comes from the 60 years in this virtual space right now, right? Like all of our experience. And it is nowhere near anything that we just saw. I would like to ask each of you, just, specifically as women, what about this video was distorted in a way that is very unique to us? And for me, I'm going to say it was the respite and the searching, right? Like the guys just kind of sitting there talking to each other and laughing, and everybody gently going. And it also looks like the men are in their uniforms and we were put in our gowns, right?
Yeah.
So that was always degrading and weird because we had nothing underneath those gowns doing all this stuff. So I'll start with you, Mandy. Was there something specific about this, or maybe just the lockdown in general, that as a woman you feel it should be important to point out?
So something that I saw in there, like, again, I was going to say the gowns, how the guys were in the shorts and t-shirt, and they really don't have any women in that video carrying their stuff, because think about a man's, towards a woman's luggage, and some of our ladies were like 80 years old carrying stacks, like we were tying commissary bags together to throw them over our shoulders, and then making the sacks with our sheets, and then with the jacket on our back. Like, that was a real struggle for 5'2", not 6 foot guys, 100 200 pounds. Like, that's a whole big different visual, and they didn't represent women in that struggle at all, or the respite. Really, they only showed men. So that was a very men point of view, I guess.
Good point. What I saw. No, good. I mean, that's a great point. Like, number one, the first thing is this has no women represented in this whatsoever, or people with disabilities, right? April, what about you?
I think for me, this search, this lockdown has been about contraband and finding contraband and finding drugs. And for me, what stands out is I never saw a drug in prison. I believe that it probably happened, but it wasn't rampant. So it does seem like, I think many of the women who are hearing about this lockdown are thinking, the guys are doing this to us, and the guards are doing this to us. And everyone's being punished across the board. Is not prolific in my experience.
For sure, that's a great point. And they're on their website, and I didn't have time to pull it up, but we can certainly share it with everybody. They posted the contraband that they found. They didn't put where units, but I can guarantee, there's a handful of contraband at the females units.
Did I lose y'all?
The stuff that's happening. No, we can. You're cutting in and out a little bit, but yeah, the majority of this stuff is coming from the male units, and we will be over policed about it as usual. Deja, what about you?
Well, I agree. There's two things. I agree with Mandy about them showing a guy's perspective, like the carrying the bags, like, and where we had to walk a kind of a long distance, right, Marcy, from like the dorm all the way either to the gym or the chapel. They made us go to the chapel at one point. And then about the contraband. Huh?
Go ahead.
I know that they were bringing contraband in, but it was the officers bringing it in. It's just they like how is an inmate going to get a hold of stuff to that, to that degree? You know what I'm saying? Like it could only be through an officer. And then it's just the Johnnies, like they just paint this picture like a lockdown is easygoing, and it's not. It's a horrible thing. It's horrible.
Yeah. For you, Marcy, something specific through the lens of a woman?
Specifically for women, well, I was going to say the contraband, because the contraband that they showed were like a cell phone and a mattress. And I out of all of us here, who has seen a cell phone in prison, in a Texas women's prison, right? So, and then they showed some dangerous contraband, like weapon type contraband. And that just really wasn't happening there. I love how Mandy pointed out about the carrying your property. And just like Michelle said, a lot of our women's units are separate buildings. So you're leaving one building with all of your property. And what they showed was these gentlemen on one of the units that are all inclusive, kind of just going down the hall with their stuff. And then I just wanted to point out the way that they search women's property. It's very personal. They back of pictures, sometimes out loud. They read letters from home. Sometimes,
journals.
Yes, journals, exactly. And if they won't hesitate to read those things out loud in front of a room full of your peers and other officers. And so it's the emotional kind of mental attack that women experience when your property is gone through is quite different from men. When women have maybe spicy letters from their spouse at home or whatever, it's embarrassing for that kind of thing to be read out loud. When it happens on the men's unit, it's kind of like a pat on your back, or if they even do that. No. So.
Yeah, definitely. Like I agree with all of you. And I think it just goes back to the point again, like we're just completely forgotten about, period, all the time, right? Like, and this is why our group is so important, to whether it's lockdowns, whether it's education, whether it's reentry, having our perspective. And those things have to be trauma informed and gender informed. And, just the presentation here of things, you nailed it, right? Like every single issue that has been a problem since the lockdown that we've been seeing and hearing, atrocious things, horrible food, all of this, and then to be presented in such a cleaned up, sterilized way, like Mandy said, it feels just like a slap in the face. So let's talk about then, what does this type of sanitized portrayal, cleaned up version, what kind of harm does this do for the people on the inside, for the issue, but for you personally? And I'll start with Deja.
Well, like Mandy said, they're giving a false impression of how the lockdowns are. So when the people from the world see it, the people's loved ones, like you said, they think that they're safe. They think that it's okay, but it's not, because everything they put out in that video was, I mean, I don't know if I can cuss or whatever. So, but I just want to say BS, because it was like, it's a big lie, because that's not how it is at all. They won't let us take baths. Our Johnnies the peanut butter is like literally a spoon. You have to open it up, try to spread it, add stuff in it. Like it's just false. Everything they put out there. It just makes me mad.
Yeah. Mandy?
Yeah, so I guess it is kind of triggering, and I have to laugh because I'm one of those people that, like, when I'm mad, sad, happy, I smile, and that's kind of just how I do my stuff. But it almost takes me back to when an officer crossed me out because it discredits what we're saying. It's like they're telling us that we're liars without saying it, and that's where I'm just like, of course y'all are going to put that. Of course y'all are going to make me, the ex-inmate who experienced it, feel as if my voice and my opinion and my experience doesn't matter because you're going to sell this narrative and people are going to believe you because you're the officer, because you're the agency, because you are someone who supposedly matters more. And that's just how I see it. And it's just annoying.
Spot on. Spot on, Marcy. Spot on, Deja, right? Like, this is what we talk about at other organizations. This, what we're doing is narrative advocacy, right? Like owning our stories and our narrative and not letting the state, who is responsible for this type of, neglect or violence, not allowing them to distort reality, right? This is gaslighting. This is gaslighting. Marcy?
Well, that's exactly right. It's just exactly like Michelle and Mandy said. It feels just like when you're incarcerated and you go to report anything, that you are immediately assumed to be lying, unless you just happen to get with that right officer who is going to accept what you're going to say, which is rare. They assume you're lying first. You have to prove you're not lying. And that's how I feel this is. It feels like they are trying to invalidate my story, right? I just wonder what it would have looked like if they had made a video. If old Brian Collier had come out and said, you know what? We're getting all of these messages from family members that these things are going on, and we're trying. Like, I would have accepted that so much more than this smoke show.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that was something that we had all said during session is, I could actually deal with this a little bit better if you were just honest, right? Like, just be honest about what's happening and we can move forward from there. But when you can't be honest, then how do you keep asking us to trust you, right? I think that goes hand in hand. April, I don't know if you were able to hear the question about, what type of harm does this create? I know she's having a little bit of audio stuff, but when she comes back on, I hope that she can answer that question too. But Marcy, why don't?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Are you? Yeah, I can hear you. Oh,
yes.
You're like,
okay, I'm here. Here I am.
Okay.
I think that it is. I think it's insane that we're telling the loved ones that people are getting nutritious meals and showers, and it's the misrepresentation that really bothers me, because some of our families don't speak English. Some of our families don't have any connection to that and what the state is telling them. And if they're being lied to, that's the only information they've got. And that's troubling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, how can, and I say this all the time when, everybody in the legislature wants to get right to let's get to the solution. I'm like, but have we understood the problem? And if you can't be honest about what the real problem is, how can you create solutions that will actually work? So I'll turn it over to you, Marcy, to just maybe if we had any questions from the audience or anything that you wanted to share from what we've been seeing and hearing again from the inside right now.
Well, just that Austin Chronicle did publish an article today talking about the quality and the quantity of the food. And they had some pictures on the article that were submitted from the inside, taking with phones that were maybe confiscated by now if the search was thorough, right? But
Oh my God.
those pictures were quite a different portrayal than what we saw on today. And then just, gosh, Jennifer, y'all, so many family members are hearing from their loved ones. And I think that this movement of formerly incarcerated people using their voices on the outside has given people on the inside a little more courage to say, hey, this is happening, because it's not at one unit. It's not at 2 units. It's not only at the women's units or only at the men's units. It is across the state that we are getting. My loved one got fed this. My loved one didn't get fed no breakfast Johnnies. I just got that today. No breakfast Johnnies, and their lunch Johnny came at 2:15. Their first meal of the day was at 2:15 p.m. And it's just that policies they're not being handled, right? We're still getting reports of no water. We're still getting reports of no showers. All of these things, it's the absolute opposite. So when this kind of media comes out, it's not just only kind of a shot at us. It's a shot at all of those family members who are hearing from their loved ones. And yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah, and I love what Hannah has put in the chat up here. Maybe you can highlight it. Is that honesty requires accountability, right? And there's something that the state has struggled with, right? And we talk about that. We have personal accountability. We're held accountable, but the state has to do their part as well. Well, Marcy, is there any questions that we're having that you want to highlight and answer before we?
So I was just looking, and it's just in the chat, there's just a lot of encouragement. It's not so much a question because we've already told our version. And so they're understanding that that's what our stories, our experiences. So yeah, we're just getting validation. Justice is here, and he did time in a men's unit. Anthony's here, Amy's here. There's a lot of folks here that did time in Texas, and they're just all confirming that yes, this is what's going on, and yes, this media that the agency put out is completely inaccurate.
Well, so let's talk about then some call, and we appreciate everybody that's here on a Friday night. We get mobilized and organized pretty quickly when we need to gather for an issue. So thank you for joining us on a Friday late night. So Marcy, let's talk about Diane's here. BF Diane's here. Let's talk about calls to action then. Right? Because I never like to leave the audience without some type of call to action that they can do. So what are some things that folks can do? I know it's not much right now, but it's still super impactful.
Well, definitely they can continue to share on social media, definitely putting your loved one's words out there. That's for sure. Definitely contacting on a unit level. And that's kind of tough because what we're hearing from a lot of family members that are contacting the individual units is that they're not treated very nicely a lot of the times because everybody's kind of stressed out over this lockdown. But I would continue to do that. I would go ahead and continue to do my ombudsman claims. I would continue to email the Huntsville agency. Brian Collier has an email address. And then I would contact my local representative. And if you don't know, let's see if I can put that in the chat. You can literally Google "Find My Representative Texas" and it pops right up, and you put your zip code in and it tells you who it is, and then there's a button that lets you email that person. And that's really important right now while session's not going on. We want to be contacting our representative about the conditions in our prisons this whole time, so that when session comes and legislation is in front of them, they're going to be like, man, I got lots of emails. I got lots of phone calls. People are worried about this. And so that's why your voice is so important. Don't hesitate to contact your legislators.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. And if please utilize lionessjiwa.org. Please utilize our website. I've updated our resources where you can look for news articles and research about all the topics that we work on. And there's also a little section for advocates, all these quick links that you can, like Marcy was talking about, how to look up your representatives and all the links that you're going to need to do the work that you need to do. Okay, so we, let's close it out a bit so people can have their Friday nights, but just some closing thoughts from everybody. I'll start with Deja. Do you have any closing thoughts to share with the folks watching?
I do want to say this to Marcy. So, because I still keep in touch with some people that we knew at Murray, and I've told them the things that you're doing, and to all of y'all, because I've been following y'all, but there's still people inside when I tell them how y'all are fighting for like the lockdown, the AC, the way they're treated, like it gives them hope. Jennifer Simpson, Jennifer Jeffley, like all of them, it just makes them feel good. And Tweety, like they're always, it just, y'all don't, I'm sure y'all realize how many people y'all touch out here, but y'all are still touching people inside of prison. So, I mean, big ups to everything that y'all are doing. Like, I'm impressed. I really am. And this, like, I love to see this, and I would love to be more involved and do more. So just always update me on everything. Because I always want to be in the know. It's hard for me to find stuff because, I'm still learning how to navigate I couldn't even get on the freaking thing. It was forever. But I love what y'all are doing. Like, y'all are helping people a lot.
Well, thank you. I'm going to say it's not a y'all, it's a we, because you being here, you doing your own advocacy in your own way, in all the years that you were in the system. I mean, you're a part of this just as much as we are. So we are so grateful to know you and be in community with you and to have you as a part of our group. So thank you. Mandy? Mandy, do you have some closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts is keep being the voice for those inside, because their voice is taken every time you believe the lie. So if your loved one says, or you're hearing something, believe them, because for them to write that letter and take that risk to let it go out, that mattered to them. So don't let it not matter to you and think they're being over dramatic or they're being whiny, because that's whatever they're writing, they're risking that letter getting found, getting caught up in the mailroom, because that has happened. And if they're willing to do that to get it to you, then hear their voice and be their voice on the outside, because trust me, their voice is gone on the inside.
Yeah.
Thank you. Marcy, would you like to close us out? I mean, I can't speak better than, where's April? I'm sorry, April. I know that you.
I'm faceless.
Right. She's a person with no face.
Yes, I retweet what everyone has said, and I would just say what I love about this organization is we remember that these are human beings. They're us. They're just like us, and we were them, and we. They are sons and daughters and sisters and brothers and children and parents, and we will keep fighting until they all come home.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love all of you so much, and I can say that to women I don't even personally know, but if you've been behind those gates, we're sisters, and I love you, and I appreciate everybody joining us tonight and sharing what their thoughts and experiences. And I concur. Marcy, would you like to close us out?
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm all teary-eyed because definitely the for Lioness, Incarcerated Women, and that's the heart of our organization, and that's why we're here. So knowing that they're hearing us and that they know we're out here means everything to me. So I just want to encourage, if you have a loved one, a loved female, because we are a women's organization, and you would like them to receive our newsletter and you would like them to join our efforts, we would love that. You can definitely email us or go on our website, which is here below, put their information in, and we will make sure they're on our mailing list. If you are formerly incarcerated and you would like to join our efforts here, advocacy comes on all levels. It comes full force, like maybe you see me and Toon everywhere all the time, and Mandy, or it comes on a lighter level, like, hey, it's call to action time. We need everybody to email this right now. And so you can help on all of those levels, and we just encourage you to join us. Thank you all for being here. And my honey is on the live. And Brittany, I love you and miss you. And we will see you all really soon. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.